Hi guys. So I don't know if you've seen that video of the Nigerian Army practically begging Enugu residents to join their fold. In fact, the story was that Enugu State had 200 slots the last quarter of last year. Do you know that the 200 slots that was earmarked for Enugu State, not up to 100 people filled up that space. In fact, the number wasn't up to 100 trying to join the army. Normally when you apply for something, you have when you call for something, you have 10,000, and maybe probably you're looking for just 200. I mean, the country is riddled with unemployment, and Southeast is not excluded from the unemployment mess of Nigeria. So when you call for job employment like this, like joining the army, I mean, you would expect to see 10,000 people running for 200 jobs, 5,000 people running for 200 jobs, just like you see in several other sectors. But it wasn't to be. Guess what? The 200 slots that was called for by the Nigerian Army for Enugu specifically, Enugu State to come and fill up, not up to 100 came. And you can imagine, so not up to 100 came, and of course, not that amount would pass the test, because there's always a process of getting into the Nigerian Army. So you can imagine that maybe at the end of the day, what they got was even less than 50. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It was just shocking. I want you to listen and watch this video to hear from the horse's mouth themselves. Watch this.
The last quarter of last year, Enugu State had a slot of about 200 persons, but they were able to fill up to 100. A lot of young men that really want to join the army, but for some of these sentiments being bandied around, some of them lack encouragement from the local government councils. We have come to get the buy-in of the grassroots politicians, our royal fathers, to help us to raise these numbers so that Enugu State can fill up their slots.
So, I mean, again, where I got that video, there are some persons who were writing stuff on social media right there, stating their own case, on why and the feeling from the Southeast about the Nigerian Army. So let's hear this person out. UC Haisin says, which Igbo youths, what happened to your repentant Boko Haram? Let them enroll and leave my Igbo brothers out of it. They are now wise. Ifeanyi Okeke says, there is more to life than serving a country that wants to fail. A total waste of time. John Bosco Stallion says, I beg, no joy, no day or day. Joel Okama says, them define people, them go send to Sambisa Forest. Of course, these are just random thoughts on social media. They're not necessarily things that are real or are factual, okay? But then I will tell you some background to all of these sentiments. Called Fire says, Igbo youths, take your tongue to count your teeth. Okay? Mr. Rex Salem says, so after Onago forced them retirement to appoint their junior as Oga. Okay, so after Onago forced them for retirement, then appoint their junior as Oga. Okay, alleging to the fact that, some Igbos, when they are appointed, they get to a certain position, and when they get to that point to be the appointed chief of army staff or chief of naval staff, they tend to be retired and their junior takes over. That has happened over and over again. There isn't any government aside from Goodluck Jonathan who made Ihe Jirika chief of army staff. At that time, there hasn't been any Igbo man who has been before him and even after him, which lay claim to some of these thoughts and ideas. Pretty Tonya says, we are not interested. You read election and now wanting the Igbos to join army. All right. Some other thoughts. So says, Una don't run out of people to send to Gogi Boko Haram for Sambisa. This other one says, sounds like a great risk. Officially, Amina says they should take the youth off the regions that got the ministerial positions and leave us alone. This one says, nobody won't buy again. Make them put northerners. Okay. So, James Onosija says they are looking for those for who to send to Sambisa. Ifuni 702 says it will youth be wise, or this they will send you to the north and they will send the north into the southeast. Adugo says because when they enter first posting northeast. Okay, so these are the comments that were seen on social media regarding this particular post. But let me draw us back a little bit on why these sentiments exist. Just aside from what I've said about people as Igbos aspiring to be, in top echelons of the army, it's rare. It's rare. The army have been seen over the years as dominated by the north, and so anything anybody's doing from the south over there is just, man, let's just try our luck, frankly speaking. And that's because over the years, the military, most of the juntas, I'm talking about the army hierarchy that took over power over time, have been from the north, and so they are practically okay with employing northerners into that fold over the years. And so this has been a continuous thing. Employment from the north has always been continuous for the army over the years, and so that's why there are many northerners who are actually in that army space, which is understandable, which is okay. But there's something I actually wanted to say regarding this. There's a historical perspective to this. When the Civil War happened, 67 to 1970, Gowon came out and said, no victor, no vanquish, and stated clearly that there will be reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. Since then, up until now, has there been anything that looks like the country has been reconciliated? Has there been anything that looks like the Southeast has been reconstructed? Has there been anything that looks like the Southeast has been reabsorbed into the national politics? Has there been anything that looks like that? Let's be realistic, really. If we really want to make this thing work, it is not about just asking Igbos to join the military. The sentiments are already there. It is clear that, if I join the military today as an Igbo man, I will gnash my teeth to even get to a rear admiral position, or even to get to, the chief of anything position. It's rare. It has been there for a while, and it's largely because of what had happened in the past. Why hasn't Nigeria as a nation on its own come out and say, look, just like what they did with Abiola, and said, look, we have to stand still for this particular guy who passed on because he was detained and then he was killed in the process, and he won it because he won an election, and they pronounced June 12th election day instead of May 29th. And then they posthumously gave him all sorts of awards. The country recognized him as a former president, as a matter of fact, even though he never stepped in as a president. That is how to appease the people. The Yorubas were appeased, at least to the extent of, yes, his life may not be brought back. The persons who committed that atrocity are probably still alive today and have apologized. But at least a country that saw those things happen they have somewhat recognized that that was a wrong move in the wrong direction. Why hasn't Nigeria as a nation do that for Southeast? After killing 3 million people of them, of their fold? If Nnamdi Kanu is a northerner or a southerner, a southwesterner, would he still be in prison? Tell me, can somebody still tell me why Nnamdi Kanu is still being held up until this moment? This is 2 years since Buhari left. Let's even say, okay, beyond reasonable doubt, he said a lot of things against Buhari, which to some extent now is looking like, what are we talking about? Are there the same things that he said that are not true? Were his appointment not lopsided? Were he not biased against the Igbos? Were his appointments not skewed towards one direction? Were they not reminiscent of what had happened in the 1960s, play out under him? The sentiments, the dot in the circle comments. There's no gainsaying it. There's nobody that would see what's happening and want to keep quiet and say, okay, let's paint it, let's sentimize it. Look, there's nothing anymore to sentimize. People say the way it is. People see the way it is. Like, even tomorrow, even if I'm picked up tomorrow, so be it. I'm a journalist. I speak my mind, and I have not insulted anybody. And so, if anybody thinks that I have spoken in a way that it triggers anybody, so be it. So, can somebody tell me why Nnamdi Kanu is still being held? This is the thing I'm talking about. He is being held because he is Igbo, not because he did anything. What has he done that Sunday Igbo did not do double? And what's all the charade, for crying out loud? You internationally render somebody, and according to the laws, if you internationally render somebody, you have to return them back from where they came from. So what are you doing with Nnamdi Kanu? What are you doing with his case? You are keeping him up until this moment. This is 2 years into your administration. Or somebody that has no bearing, did nothing. So what are we saying? These are the sentiments we're talking about. The country hasn't apologized officially to the Igbos and say, guys, we're sorry for what happened. In fact, we're saying this day, we are taking out this day to remember those innocent souls that were killed in the crossfire of the war that happened between 67 and 70, because it was more of a genocide than even a war. It's terrible, really. It's terrible. And I'm not even saying, I'm siding this side, I'm both sides. Ojukwu would have avoided that war. It wasn't avoided. There are ways you can go about this. I feel taking arms against the states, at some point you just say, you know what, you have to sheath your sword. You just have to let go, and then look at other ways you can engage to get things done, even if it means calling in more in the international community to see the plight. Even go beyond board and speak to several countries to even assist in making sure it pressures the government of Nigeria to agree to whatever it is that you guys agreed at Aburi. So I feel in both sides erred, but then Nigeria as a nation, was more faulted in this thing than anyone else, because it was more like the bigger brother in this sense. It's just unheard of. It's just terrible. So the same country that fought against its brothers, its sisters in the past, killed them, are the people you are asking the Igbos to come and join. Make it make sense. So that's where the sentiment, I think, is coming from. And quite frankly, if anybody sees it from this perspective, it's justified. If there are no apologies, yes, the wound is still there, it's still fresh, like it or leave it. And nothing to show that the country is even apologetic about what they have done, even what they are doing to that part of the country up until this moment, including the lopsided appointment of this current administration, led by Tinubu. Let me know. Tell me what else? What else do you want people to do? They would always react in a way that they deem fit. That's why some persons, when they blame the Southeast for sitting at home, I really don't blame anybody. I mean, that is how they want to protest. You can't tell a man, you can't beat a man and then tell the person how to cry, dictate how to cry for them. So it's not about Nnamdi Kanu as a person, but it's about the sentiment that is coming around. That's the reason for the so-called sit-at-home. And coming down to the story about people from the South is not joining army. This is it. What are the fathers, the mothers, the uncles of these young people you're asking to come and join military telling them? Do you think that they're telling them good stories about the Nigerian army? Do you think they're telling them good things about the Nigerian government? The government of Nigeria needs to do something and do it quickly. And I dare say this should start from at least apologizing for what they did in 1967 to 1970. Then we can start from there. Subscribe, share your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear from you as always. Many thanks for watching. Cheers.